Hello, everyone. I'm Canay. I want to see who is active right now. Can I see faces? If you're okay with it, can you turn on your videos? Can I see some faces, please? Aharon, MSV, Paul, Eon, Anne, Marcelo. Hi. Thanks for showing up. I have a hard time talking without faces, so I'm very traditional. Hello. So yeah, let me start. I'm Canay. I live in Ibiza, and today I'm going to be talking about Socratic dialogue, which is a methodology that I use in my life, in my business, and I hope it would also give you some benefit, especially this very interesting times. So what is Socratic dialogue? Normally, we say we listen to each other, right? Like we have screens now, everybody has their headphones, and we look like we are listening to each other. But most of the time, when we even think that we are listening, we actually are thinking of something else. For example, you may be looking at me and like, oh, look at her, or like, look, what is that behind her? Oh, what am I gonna eat for dinner? So the thoughts keep on repeating themselves in our system. So it is impossible for us to listen to somebody else when we are thinking our own thoughts. It's impossible. And why do we have this? It's like the biggest pandemic, actually, the thought addictions. Why do we have it? Because of our evolution. Our bodies are wired in a way, each time we think a thought, the body releases an endorphin if it's a familiar thought. It goes for the thought and it goes for the emotion. Do you ever join to meetings where this chairman or the executive says, as I always tell you, and then repeats the same thing what he or she has been repeating the last 5 years? Have you been in a meeting like that? Raise hands. Like, why does it happen? Because we like to prove ourselves right, so that the body, the neocortex, the circuit happens and the body releases endorphin, and voila, we are happy. Each time we release endorphin, we are happy. It's addiction. And sometimes thoughts are not that good. Sometimes we think we are not good enough. And the mind wants to find reasons, proofs that we are not good enough. And each time, oh, see, I'm not good enough. We go and find the people, we date with them, we go and find the jobs that makes us feel that we are not good enough. Even we select what information, what type of comments we are going to receive through these filters. Why do you think these thought addictions can be terrible, especially these times? Can somebody say why thought addictions can be the destruction of humanity? Ion, you want to say something? Can you think of a reason why thinking the same thought is not good for us? Is there anyone who wants to speak? Aharon?
Yeah, because if we're addicted to thought patterns that are the same, we're not being creative. And the only thing that's happening is change.
Exactly. If we are not being creative, then how are we gonna design new business models? How are we gonna design new learning systems? How are we gonna design even what it means to be healthy? How are we gonna design new cities? How are we gonna create better communication among us? So repeating the same thoughts, maybe it saved our lives when we were living in the jungle, in tribes, seeing a lion and then not thinking, oh, wait, shall I say hi or shall I be friendly with that big mammal with big teeth? No, it wasn't good. It was good for our survival to think fast. But now it's not good for our survival because we need to think fresh and new. And guess what? I was running a design thinking consultancy, working with a lot of creative people. And each time we went to design new services, new products, we always said, let's start from a blank canvas. But people, when they come to design processes, they actually come with their old thoughts that they carry from their business cultures, from their education system, from media communication, and from their family cultures. Even as roles, as genders, we all have these repeated thoughts and we bring them to the table without knowing. Coming back to Socratic dialogue, it is a great tool to break through those thought addictions. That's why I want to talk about Socratic dialogue. Normally, the experience of Socratic dialogue is very nice. So if we can manage it, because we are not many people, maybe we can start experiencing it during the session even. So Socratic dialogues are done by humans who speak the same language. It doesn't matter how old are you, from what education or societal background you are coming from. As long as you are speaking the same language, you can sit around a circle or be in a Zoom call like this, and you can start a dialogue with your teams, with your families, with your children, with your colleagues, with your clients. It doesn't matter. It can be done with people that you don't know. It's a great tool to get to know each other. But it can be done also with the people that you think you know very well. Because guess what? The people you think you know well are actually the people you assume a lot of things about. Let me give you an example. I had an ex-husband. So during our divorce process, we were fighting, and it was terrible. And when I learned Socratic dialogue, after 4 years of fighting in the court, I learned the dialogue and we sat down with him and we had a Socratic dialogue. And I swear, in 8 years since I met him, I noticed I listened to my ex-husband for the first time. And do you know what happens when you hear someone for real? Allow their thoughts to visit your system, not just your brain, but your whole entire system. You change. You have empathy to the other person. And all of a sudden you start understanding why they are acting the way they are acting. It's not just mental, it's also emotional. And what happens to the other person? What happens when you feel you are hurt? It heals, it transforms. Many conflicts, many wars are because we don't really understand each other. And it starts in the thought level, and then because we don't communicate healthy, then we cannot create new solutions. We just want to hold on to our thoughts despite the cost of it. Sometimes it costs us lives and centuries of pain. So maybe just by a simple act, an art of listening, we can change things. I know it sounds so positive and like a magic formula, but it actually is. If you allow yourself to listen for real, without assuming, without expecting, without trying to respond, just allow another person's idea to visit you, you are gonna get free from your own thought addictions. It's a healing journey for everybody included. It's not just a creative process. It is a refreshment process for your own system. So, in the Socratic dialogues, what we do is we gather around a circle and we start by asking a simple question, a philosophical question. Most of the time, For example, you joined to this session, right? What was your intention joining to this session? Can somebody say? We don't.
To discover
Yes.
to discover this process for me. I wanted to discover this
Wonderful.
process. Yeah.
So what Adam did was like, he had a question. What is this about? I want to discover. This is intention. And it's a human skill. But many people, we suffer from intention deficit. We wake up and we try to survive. We don't wake up to like, okay, what am I going to discover today? How am I going to grow today? What am I going to change in my environment today? So these are human potentials, but we don't use them. We are not trained to use them. But now, during this COVID-19, one thing for sure, we cannot let things continue as they are. It is not possible. So we need to take over, starting with our intentions and thoughts. And what I love about the dialogues is each dialogue starts with a question and everybody needs to come up with one question. It triggers curiosity. Like, what are you curious about? What would you like to dialogue about? It needs to be a philosophical question. What does it mean? Anything that we can dialogue together, anything that is not measurable, like what is the temperature outside, or things that we didn't experience ourselves, like is there a life after death? We remove those. They are not within the Socratic dialogue questions for practical reasons. But let's go around the circle. What is one question that you would like to dialogue about? Yeah, Adam.
Does zero-sum competition serve evolution anymore?
Does zero-sum competition serve evolution anymore? Beautiful question. So normally what we do, and if you are curious, I'm happy to do a full session and you can be all my guests. But because I have little time now, I'm just going to talk about the basics of it. And if you're interested, we can do one together. So let's get this question. Does zero-sum competition serve evolution anymore? And now we have a question. Normally, everybody asks one question, and together we decide on one question to dialogue. But for the sake of timing, let's start with Adam's question. Does zero-sum competition serve evolution anymore? Now we need to choose a method to approach to dialogue. And what can be the methods to talk about this question? What we do is we look at, is there anything that we need to define within this question? What does zero-sum competition mean? What does evolution mean? You know, these things might create different concepts in all of our psyche, because maybe we are coming from different backgrounds. And normally in dialogues, we don't use any terminology at all. I always say, talk like you are explaining it to a 6-year-old. That removes a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding from life. And it also encourages you to be as clear as possible. So it can be definitions. Let's start with definitions. There can be sub-questions, such as, does zero-sum competition has anything to do with evolution? It's because there's an assumption there. Normally in life, we don't stop and reflect on what are the assumptions within this question. But when we are dialoguing and when everybody is participating, we look at all these details. And one of my favorite methodologies, yes, Adam?
I was just going to say, and when an assumption is placed in a question, it immediately, everyone has an instant, it attacks their ego. They want to react to it because it affects their identity.
And it's like magic. Look at the media. and the headlines. There are so many assumptions that we don't question, and then we keep on feeding ourselves with those assumptions, and we grow up and voila, we are not like robots. But if you come up with the same things to a child, they would probably ask a lot of questions about those assumptions. Because we want to be so efficient and fast and look smart all the time, we never stop and say, but what does it really mean? Why do we assume that? Can we start over? And guess what? Sometimes defining these things, like Adam's question, if we were to ask it 200 years ago, probably we would have already achieved another economical system by now. Like, because we have a sense of evolution, now we understand actually it is not the survival of the fittest, but the most collaborative maybe for humans. So we look at these methodologies. And also, one of my favorites is we praise abstract thinking a lot, but actually making things tangible in your own experience is super strong. It's super efficient. So we can also share our own experiences, like zero-sum competition, helping evolution. Maybe you have an experience about it in your company. Did it help your startup? Or did it help you in your family, in your community? We can talk about these things. So you can share also the experiences. But what happens, magical, is not about this or that. These are like basic dialogue rules that you shall apply in every conversation, in every meeting. The magic of Socratic dialogue is the collective focus. It's like a human superpower we don't use. Because now I have my 2-3 screens, I have my ideas, and I hear something from outside and I'm looking at your faces. I sometimes miss what the other person is saying. But in Socratic dialogue, we have this rule. Before you say what you are thinking, you have to repeat what the other person before you said. Imagine. Before you say what you are thinking, you need to repeat what the other person said before you. And as much as possible, using the same words that the other person used. Because, like I said in the beginning, when we are repeating, what I notice, 99% of the time, people say, let me summarize it, or let me tell what I understood. And without even noticing, they change the whole meaning of what the other person said, because we like proving what we think is right. Remember? So,
Can we do this?
let's do it. Okay. So, Adam asked this question: does zero-sum game help evolution anymore? Aharon, do I say your name right? Can we hear from you what you think about this topic? But a couple of more rules. Do not refer to anybody, including professor, quantum physics, Quran, your aunt, or what Oprah said. No external references, okay? This is the first rule. Second, do not use any terminology, and be as simple as possible. Ion, don't go. I need you. Couple of minutes. Aharon.
I think when making conversations, it's important to follow the aim, why we are making that conversation, and keep some frames. And then you will reach what you want.
Thank you. Adam, can you repeat what Aharon said and continue on the topic?
So it's important to have frames before you. That's kind of like the main part that I caught.
He didn't say frames. Aaron, can you repeat?
Yeah, can
Yes.
you see it?
To keep good conversation, it's important to look at aim, why you are doing that conversation, and keep some frames.
Yeah, the aim and the frames. Thank you.
Yeah.
Adam?
So it's important to look at aims to have a good conversation and to keep some frames. And also to listen deeply so that you can deeply understand what that person is sharing.
Yeah. Can we go back to your question? Does zero-sum game help evolution anymore? What are your thoughts on it?
My feeling is that the human created zero-sum gaming is keeping us caught in a highly competitive, definitely disconnected mentality. And we can't seem to break apart. We reinforce professional sports. We reinforce politicians who are leading from the top autocratically without co-creating. And I love your reference, which I'm not allowed to say, was the most collaborative country wins.
Thank you. Ion, would you like to join?
Yeah. I'm here. Just 1 second. Sorry.
Ion?
I don't know if my English will be understandable.
We understand you perfect.
Okay, I can hear, I can understand English, but I don't know if I have many years I haven't practiced. Should I repeat what he said?
Yeah.
Okay. That humans have created a highly competitive civilization. And we have autocratic leaders, leaders from the top, and the most collaborative society will win. I don't like the word win, but it's okay. He
Yes.
said something.
I love the irony.
Would you like to add something to that?
About the topic, okay.
Yes.
On my opinion, we are right now in a moment that is the first time we can share more in a way of horizontal, in a horizontal way between cultures. That was not our, that was not possible before in humanity. So it was really hard to not be afraid of the one we have in front. And we have basic necessities as humans, as a species. So collaboration has always been on us. We have always collaborated with one, but not with the other one. And that's mostly of the hard part. Like with who we collaborate, and we are going to collaborate with the one we understand better, and we always going to be fear of the one that we don't understand. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Theo Bear, are you here?
Yeah, I am. How's everyone doing?
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be here. Just gonna switch this up here.
Would you
Sorry, I
like
jumped in a little late.
Would you like to repeat what Eon said?
Well, do I have to? Is there is it a sentiment if I have to repeat what he says? I'm sorry, I'm a little late. I'm not sure what the game plan is. Is this a memory exercise we're going through right now?
No, it's not about testing the memory. It is the experience of art of listening. So if you heard as much as you can, if you repeat, it's nice. If not, we can switch to another person.
Yeah. So this is what I got. I was making lunch. So you'll have to bear with me here. And I'm going to paraphrase it too, because it's just easier to roll off the tongue. Our autocratic leaders have put us in a position where we think competition is what drives us forward. Whereas when you look at the relationship of the universe, it's obviously all collaborative. All of the cells in your body have no particular reason to be there other than you. And yet somehow this collaborative nature of the universe seems to extend through everything. So this kind of joke that our leaders have played by trying to convince us that we are in different countries. I wouldn't say that any country here is going to win unless the whole world figures out how to collaborate together. That's basically what I got.
Cool try, but yeah, not near even.
Oh no, trust me, we're not going to get me to be too much like other people.
Is there anyone who would like to, Gagik, public, would you like to repeat what Eon said?
I'll try. I think we have left. I will frame it from my understanding of the matter, and my understanding is that our work avoidance, continuous work avoidance, led us to let others do what we want to do, and usually others don't do the job, never do. So it's time for us to really take on the lead and come together. And as Eon said, it is the most able, the most able technological, coming together is made easy because we now can collaborate across borders. So the world has become one and it's flat. And now we can, take the vertical into horizontal, relationships where we can face the strangers who would really we would be afraid of facing due to the frames that we have. So going back to Aaron, we now have a frame where we can really put the conversation going by understanding where we are leading and inviting others to join. Maybe something like that.
Thank you. I think this was a great demonstration of how we can listen to each other, how we can misunderstand each other, even in this 15 minutes. It was a very good summary. Thank you, Gagik. And also the question itself was a great question for the meaning of Socratic dialogue, because as Eon was explaining, we are scared of the other. What we are scared of is the idea that the other's idea is not familiar to us. But if we can make peace by the art of listening and listen to each other deeply, there is no other. There won't be any more in our minds, in our relationships, among our countries, among our companies. I want to thank you all so much. I have 2 minutes left. What I want to say is, if you want to do this fully, properly, it's a 1 hour, 15 minutes experience. I'm gonna write my contact here, and you can contact me, and I'm happy to guide you, and we can experience it together. Next week, maybe Friday, 1.5 hours. Any questions? No questions?
Thank you.
You mentioned Quran.
Quran, yeah, I'm from Turkey.
Okay.
So Quran, Bible, Tevrat, the most religious concrete things, even they shape how we think a lot. It doesn't matter if you belong to any religious group, but we are learning from everything around us.
I have a quick question. Oh, sorry.
By the way, this Sunday, we have an event, the Unconference. I'm also writing it here. We do it every weekend on Sundays. If you want to join, more than welcome. Thank you all. And have a great session rest of the night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.